Hello everyone. Welcome from our studios here at our Atos headquarters in Besançon. I'm Neil Milliken. I am the Vice President and Group Head of Accessibility and Digital Inclusion here at Atos. It's my pleasure to welcome you today for the third edition of our Innovation in Disability Inclusion event. I'm a middle-aged white male with mousy hair and a goatee beard, and I'm wearing a purple tie. And you might ask why? Well, we're celebrating Positively Purple. It started as Purple Light Up, aligned with the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. It was an idea from my dear friend Kate Nash that for this day, which celebrates the economic empowerment of persons with disabilities around the world, that we shed a light and celebrate disability. It went viral and went around the world. So on these days, people dress purple. Buildings are lit up purple, websites turn purple, all to celebrate people with disabilities, celebrate our identity and the fact that we are playing an important role in society. For one day, here today, we are celebrating people with disabilities as role models within our organization. But we also want to celebrate what accessibility means to enable people with disabilities to fully participate and, more importantly, thrive at work, as well as the long-lasting partnerships in our wider ecosystem, especially with the public sector. Partnerships are absolutely crucial if we're to transform our society, make it more inclusive, and foster the employment of persons with disabilities and other excluded groups. Today, I'm particularly proud to be joined by our CEO, Nourdine Bihmane, who recently recommitted to the valuable 500, giving detailed commitments as to what we're doing to improve our accessibility and include more persons with disabilities. I'm also proud that recently at the M-Enabling event in Washington, D.C., run by the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, we picked up 4 awards, and one of those awards was nominated for one of our panelists here, in fact, our moderator. So, I'm very much looking forward to participating in this event, and I would like to thank you again for showing your interest and passion for disability inclusion.
Thank you, Neil. So, I'm Alexandra Notnagel, a white neurodiverse woman in her mid-30s. Today I'm without my Kermit hat, as I'm in a good environment, feeling well. As Program Manager of Atos Global Accessibility and Digital Inclusion Governance, organizational change management and projects favoring accessibility and digital inclusion is my daily business. So it's a true pleasure for me to moderate the session today with my 3 high-level guests, and in the third edition of this event, look around our commitment of the group with our 3 perspectives from the view of our Tech Foundation CEO to our CEO Office and Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Lead Larissa, to you, Neil, my manager and group head of accessibility. First, I'm honored to welcome you, Nourdine. What is your motivation to join our session today?
Thank you, Alexandra. So indeed, I'm Nourdine Bihmane, the CEO of Tech Foundation. I am a middle-aged man of Mediterranean origin, wearing a blazer dress shirt with a purple pocket square. I also have a friendly, relaxed smile, as I am proud of my job at Atos, alongside teams advancing what matters to society and at large for our client and our employees. I'm delighted to be here today celebrating diversity and disability inclusion, subjects that hold significant importance for me. At Atos Group, we are committed to disability inclusion as depicted in the valuable 500 in May this year, outlining our approach and concrete actions. Although we are here to celebrate the yearly International Day of Persons with Disabilities, it's imperative to emphasize that innovating to enable people to fully participate and belong should be in the mindset of our teams, our partners, and everyone. I asked our teams how many people will be impacted by this, and the answer was surprising at first. Do you know that the World Health Organization estimates that circa 1.3 billion people, or 1 out of 6 people worldwide, experience significant disability? These numbers constantly rise with the recent COVID pandemic and the demographical shift to older populations, as disability are mostly acquired as we age. Anyone, including myself, other CEOs, C-suite members, our client, partner, their children or friends, can become disabled at any age in their life. It is a universal concern affecting individuals irrespective of ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, identity, religion, or nationality. Hence, including people with disability and ensuring accessibility are pivotal to our company's global diversity initiatives. It is my pleasure to join you to talk and constantly learn more about this topic. Let us be fruitful. As do other organizations, we still have much to learn today from our accessibility experts and our employees with disabilities to advance what matters. I firmly believe that cultivating a safe and inclusive environment where every individual has the freedom to express their true selves and is supported to unleash their full potential is more than a moral and societal obligation. It is a fundamental requirement for our organization's success. As some may already know, I am personally involved as the executive mentor in Generation Valuable, which forms an integral part of our commitment to gaining direct insight from our employees with disabilities while trying to learn how to support their growth for an eventual career to senior management and organization C-suites.
Thank you, Nordine. At this point, let me introduce to you our Chief of Staff for the CEO office, supporting greatly the topic of today. She's also the diversity, equity and inclusion lead for our group, aiming to show the commitment from CEO office side itself to this key area aligned with the values of our organization. Larissa, welcome.
Alexandra, thank you. And it's a great honor to be with you today and alongside with Nordine and Neil. It's a real privilege for me to be here today and to talk about accessibility and inclusion, a subject that holds a special place in my heart. I'm Larissa Vancea, a woman in my 40s with a Caucasian background, wearing glasses since I was a small child. And today I am wearing a dress with purple flowers to celebrate International Days of Persons with Disabilities and Purple Light of Day. I'm here to connect today with you in my role as Head of Diversity for Tech Foundation. And as Nordine said, cultivating a secure and inclusive environment where everyone can express their true self, can unleash their full potential is not just a moral, but a societal obligation. Still, it's a fundamental requirement for our organization's success. So I'm pleased that at Atos, diversity, equity, and inclusion are positioned as central to our business strategy, and that we have dedicated programs for both D&I and accessibility. I strongly advocate for mutual learning, for emphasizing the importance of gaining knowledge from each other, and also from learning day by day from each other and from external resources. Furthermore, I believe embracing diversity of thoughts and celebrating various viewpoints. So in everything we do, we are dedicated to actively fighting prejudice in all its forms.
Thank you, Larissa. Your collaboration is a key enabler for our accessibility program. Back to you, Neil. What do you feel at the beginning of this panel? what's your driver to have flown in from the UK this morning?
Thank you. I've flown in because I think it's really important to have leadership in the room when we're talking about accessibility. So thank you, Nordine. So I'm Neil Milliken. I'm responsible for policy programs and client-facing delivery relating to accessibility and disability inclusion. Really to deliver an inclusive and meaningful impact, for our clients and society at large, we need to make sure that everybody can thrive. And that means that we have to address exclusion through improving performance for the group. And we can do that by creating a more accessible organization. As foundational technologists, we're uniquely placed to be able to make a difference for millions of people worldwide, our customers and our customers' customers, as well as tens of thousands of products around the world. My disabilities are not visible. I'm dyslexic and ADHD, but they are part of me. I was late diagnosed, but they make me part of the communities that we are celebrating today.
Thank you, Neil, for walking the talk and identifying publicly as a person with disability. This is what we'll name again later in the session, self-ID. Now to our approach for the session. I'll ask one question, and then we get 3 answers by you from 3 different angles. Let's start with the first topic. It's on our ESG approach, E for environment, S for social, and G for governance. All our programs are aligned with this ESG approach, for which we are recognized as the top 50 leading organization by SEAL Sustainability, Environmental Achievement and Leadership Business Sustainability Award 2022. So Neil, let's start with you. What's our approach to environment linked to disability inclusion?
So it's quite a clear link, because people with disabilities are actually the most impacted by climate change. So if we don't address climate change, we are actively making it difficult for people with disabilities. So this is why in our last inclusion challenge, we addressed directly the risks of disability inclusion and climate change together. People often live in areas where they're affected, and we can use technology to help us to help them. So early warning systems to ensure that people know about how they can get medicine. We need to make sure that we use our technology and our knowledge and our partnerships to help keep people safe and make sure that they are not excluded. And it fits very well with our framework around ESG, something that our employees and our colleagues already understand, and that's why we have adopted it for disability inclusion as well.
Now over to you, Larissa. What is our social focus for disability inclusion?
Accessibility and inclusion are naturally perceived as being social on HR aspects, but they are key aspects that are demonstrating that we are caring about our employees. So our D&I strategy, diversity, equity and inclusion strategy, is firmly established and well-founded, supported by a culture that reflects commitment to inclusivity, diversity and ethical employment practices, as seen in the various results of our employee surveys. While people might consider it as being a soft measurable, accessibility and disability inclusion have an enormous impact in our wider D&I culture. It has the capability of transforming ourselves and our clients and are of interest for our shareholders, of course. For this reason, we transparently report in the CSR, the social chapter of our group universal registry document, on our goals and achievements also for both accessibility and digital inclusion. And of course, D&I and disability.
Nordine, over to you. What is our governance focus for disability inclusion?
So exactly, while Larissa was saying disability inclusion is clearly a social topic for us, to move from disability confidence to disability competence, we require strong business governance aiming to combine the S of social and the G of governance for ESG. So we have appointed an executive leader for accessibility, you, Neil, as part of our global management team, empowered to drive accessibility and disability inclusion program and grow our accessibility offerings. Creating a solid governance is a fundamental part of the accessibility program and what our consultants deliver to other organizations regarding accessibility as a service portfolio of our key offering.
Thank you. Next topic. As our journey to new Atos continues, so does the evolution of our brand, providing us with the opportunity to rethink what makes us unique. Our shared values, reliability, ingenuity, solidarity, guide us why we are here, what we stand for, and how we behave. My first question is, how, Neil, how do you link ingenuity to accessibility and disability inclusion?
For me, this is easy because people with disabilities come across challenges all of the time, and we have to solve problems. They're early adopters of technology. So if you think about it, I'm a user of speech recognition software. The first users of speech recognition software many decades ago were mainly people with disabilities. They're the only ones that stick with it. They make the best beta testers. So these are good reasons why you need to design with the disability community. Whilst they may be designing for the edge, effectively by doing so, you create something that is better for the center.
Thank you. Now to you, Nordine. How does reliability link to disability inclusion?
On reliability, our customers count on us to consistently deliver excellence by bringing our best self to work. To do that, we need to ensure performance and well-being, as well as an authentic, welcoming, intersectional environment where everyone can feel safe and embrace their individual identities and feeling they fully belong to our teams. Our employees and client assistive technology need to function reliably, not only at go live, but also after each new update of a tool, avoiding regression with the risk of excluding people and reducing performance.
Thank you. Now over to you on solidarity.
Yes, I love this one. So together with our colleagues, with our clients, partners, and wider communities, we can move mountains. I strongly believe that. It's about unlocking the power of we through D&I, make a bigger and more meaningful impact on the society and on the world. Alone, we may move fast, but we can go far only together.
Thank you. So how we will achieve this? We spoke about programs already before. So now let's go a little bit deeper and look at our 3 pillars from high-level perspective for the accessibility and disability inclusion program. The first pillar is on business. Neil, can you elaborate on this?
Absolutely. We want to be the recognized leader in our industry for accessible and inclusive digital transformation. We believe that it gives us an edge. It helps us deliver better performance for our employees and also for the employees of our customers. We believe that that's valuable not just for us, but also for our clients.
Thank you. So now to you, Nordine, about our internal processes and excellence for this and compliance.
Thank you, Alexandra. Good question. On internal excellence and compliance, we already talked about our ESG approach to accessibility. Operational excellence and compliance focus on governance and ensuring that our process, be it procurement, HR, brand, logistic and housing, or our IT, all play their part in a continuously improving accessibility. We can only be a disability inclusive organization if we ensure accessibility across the entire employee life cycle.
Thank you. such transformation doesn't happen in isolation, actually. So, Larissa, can you explain us a little bit the pillar on wider ecosystem?
Of course, Alexandra, it's my pleasure. So, jointly advancing what matters using the power of we know already that we are living in a connected world, right? We cannot do business without partners. Our focus here is to work with social partners, with technical experts, and reporting our contribution to disability and also accessibility for CSR. It's about delivering through a collaborative effort on our brand identity of tech for people, for good, and also for planet, including the concerned groups for co-creation and feedback via our employee resource groups. We actively engage in initiatives such as the Valuable 500 that Nordin mentioned. We play a leading role in chairing the Global Business Disability Network, and we partnering with other organizations like Business Disability Forum and Positively Purple.
Thank you. So now let's move to our approach, which actually links to deliver a full ecosystem accessibility based on our experience in tackling climate topics. From decarbonization, we know that there's 3 scopes on how we can impact, for example, decarbonization. It's the same we look at here. And we start one with a direct scope explained by you, Neil. How can we directly impact accessibility?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Alexandra. So, once upon a time, I listened to a speech by an accessibility pioneer called Jim Tobias, and he said, you know what, inaccessibility is kind of like pollution. And that set off a light bulb in my head, because smog is a well-known type of pollution, but also so is inaccessibility, because when we make a product or deliver a service and it excludes people, it has a negative impact on society. That's a negative externality, but not all externalities are bad, because you can have curb cuts, you can reduce your carbon emissions like we do with our decarbonization credits. So we have a framework that we already understand as a business, so we wanted to apply that same framework to dealing with exclusion. And that's why whatever we do, whatever we make, whatever we design internally, we need to be designing to be accessible, because we can reduce the exclusion pollution. We're reducing negative externalities by designing inclusive solutions.
Thank you. So now on the second scope, or indirect scope, and maybe you have a success story to share here, Nordin.
Yes, and you're right on that second scope. We can indirectly impact accessibility by buying accessible, like purchase resources, product, and services. Here, I want and I wish to congratulate our team for currently rolling our globally new processes for RFPs and RFIs. Soon, all our vendors are getting assessed for their maturity in accessibility and introducing a strong contractual clauses on their commitments to provide accessible products and services to our employees and our clients. This approach is well known from the decarbonization field, like you mentioned, Neil, and had successfully reduced compliance risk for our vendors and ourselves and our client, while we were pushing for wider positive impact on social good.
Thank you. So now on the third scope on how to influence accessibility, Larissa.
Expanding upon the insights shared already by Nordin and by Neil, I like to emphasize our organization commitment to create a substantial influence throughout the entire value chain. Our efforts cover a range of activities, including pre-sales and sales processes and establishing partnerships, whether public or private partnerships. We should spotlight several initiatives in this context, incorporating accessibility assessments into our portfolio and sales process, which must be a routine and integral part of our day-by-day activities. This not only raises customer awareness, but also assist our clients in understanding the advantage that more accessible and inclusive our services are and our products, they can bring benefits to their end users. Lastly, our commitment extends to delivering the Paralympics, as I'm sure everybody knows, and other significant parasports events, while also providing support for the International Paralympic Committee, broader diversity and inclusion initiatives. Our involvement is also with the 15 movement, which serves as a catalyst for engagement in disability-related discussions. As evidence from these endeavors, we are dedicated to positively impact and influence, and we see these impacts pay back. It's essential to note that none of this would have been achievable without your exceptional support and without your team support. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Larissa, Nordine, and Neil, to have joined my invite to the studio today for Innovation and Disability Inclusion event. It feels a little bit like the happy end of a Hollywood movie for me. A few years back, I wouldn't have dared to dream that this is actually possible, and today it happened. It's not an end, though. It's just a great start for new endeavors to advance what matters. Your sponsorship, vision, and commitment to accessibility and disability inclusion is very powerful to our organization, our ecosystem, and for myself. You are role models on crucially needed executive leadership for disability inclusion in organizations. And being your accessibility and digital inclusion program manager, I've got some homework to do with our teams. As we speak about innovations in disability inclusion, we are asked to identify the key problems our organization and employees face and that we must solve to enable disability inclusion. Let me name our top problems identified. Lack of data on disability and accessibility needs in organizations. Lack of awareness and skills. Lack of support and mentoring. And lack of wider sponsorship. Let me elaborate a little bit on the solutions we propose you accepted for new Atos as New Year's resolution. To solve the lack of data, we want to enable a culture of self-identification of employees with disabilities, as well as systems which, in an inclusive way and non-invasive way, enables to declare oneself as part of the group. For lack on awareness and skills, we want to, of course, mandate training which can enable everyone to understand why we need accessibility to advance disability inclusion. And in addition, the self-ID of our colleagues will naturally enable awareness. The lack of support and mentoring, we want to solve this by proposing a new reverse mentoring program as collaboration between DI department of Larissa and accessibility department for a pilot for employees with disabilities. For support, of course, we'll continue to train on and provide assistive technologies. For the lack of wider sponsorship, everyone can become sponsor for disability, inclusion, and accessibility. And one way is to become an accessibility champion and to innovate in your own personal way how to foster disability inclusion. We can already see today that we are on a good trajectory as our colleagues embrace and support the solutions we propose. In today's event, I wish you to appreciate the disability inclusion dividend of creativity. We already see and celebrate colleagues who self-ID to explain you the benefits of their assistive technologies. It's because people feel safe and comfortable to speak about their disabilities and problems, which enables us to search for solutions and innovate more. And everyone can join, as you will discover in the video of Rick Roberts, our head of global strategic sales, who followed the example in his personal way, identifying as ally and reframing disability inclusion action as a point of strength and authentic leadership. I think that this following video from Rick is fitting to conclude the session. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and that you get inspired yourself to do something similar to promote disability inclusion in your own way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rick Roberts. I work in Atos. I lead the Atos large deal sales teams globally. I'm hearing, so you may ask, why am I using sign language today? Well, I am the proud father of a deaf daughter. And as a family, we use British Sign Language, BSL, at home to communicate in a way we can all understand. Sign language is a visual means of communicating using gestures, facial expression, and body language. There are many sign languages globally, just like spoken languages. However, British Sign Language is different to American Sign Language. Sign language is used mainly by people who are deaf or who have hearing impairments, but everybody can learn some signs. Join me today to celebrate International Day of Sign Languages. And together, let's raise awareness of the importance of inclusive communication. More details at the link below. Thank you.
Assistive technology enables employees with disabilities to do things that were either difficult or impossible previously. I've been shouting at computers for almost 2 decades, and it's only recently that they've started answering me back coherently. In all seriousness, my dyslexia means that writing can be challenging for me where speaking is not. So when I use dictation, it enables me to be more effective at writing and creating text, and it unblocks my creativity. Speech recognition tools are essential for many people as a means of access if you have dyslexia or limited mobility. Nowadays, though, everybody is more efficient through use of dictation. In fact, many of today's tech tools have built-in technologies that started as assistive tech. Think of Siri or Alexa. But for assistive technology to work effectively and to support people, we also need applications, documents, and websites to be accessible. We found that generative AI also needs the same things in order to maximize its effectiveness. So accessibility creates a double win for our business in terms of inclusion and efficiency. Our next session focuses in on explaining in more detail why assistive technologies are tech for good.
Happy to hand over to our head of digital workplace, Leon Gilbert, chairing the session, and Jim Smith, head of accessibility for Northern Europe and portfolio manager, as well as some courageous colleagues with disabilities publicly sharing with you today the benefits of their assistive tech with you.
So, welcome. I'm Leon Gilbert. I lead Atos' digital workplace business. And with me today, I have Jim Smith, who is our accessibility portfolio lead in digital workplace. And you'll hear from Jim a little bit later. I'm based in the US. I've been here for 12 years. And whilst I have a British accent, you will notice some American terms potentially throughout this day. I'm aged somewhere in my 40s, and I would describe myself on the relaxed side of comfort in the sense of skinny jeans, hoodie type guy. I'm really delighted to chair this session today on assistive technologies and tech for good. So what I get asked a lot is, what is digital workplace? Digital workplace is really the guy or girl who comes to your desk or people you call when you answer the phone. We manage your applications, your devices, and really we try to define the strategy of where this industry is headed from a people, a platform, and a planet perspective. For us, digital workplace is all about experience, and accessibility and disability is key to that. People often think about how easy IT is as a business and how easy digital workplace must be to run, but it really isn't. It's like running a football club. Within a football club, you have so many stakeholders, whether it's a chairman, a manager, a team, fans, providing tickets, etc. And the key to running a football club is how you mesh all of that together. And doing digital workplace is exactly the same thing. We have to cater for all types of employees, whatever the areas that they need assistance on. And that is one of the key things for us in how we manage an accessibility scenario. For us, assistive technology is improving every day, and it's imperative that all organizations stay ahead of this and not fall behind. For me, the digital workplace and digital world has to be open for all and not just for the privileged. In the same way as I described earlier around the football analogy, people should be able to go watch football, play football, listen to football, and consume it and get the same experience in whatever way they need to. So what is tech for good? It provides a level playing field. It makes people feel that they're not excluded. It's a key part of Atos's values. And when we talk about ESG, we don't just talk about the E, we talk about the S as well. So the E is environment, the S is the social, and the social is as important to Atos as the environmental. Our mission statement in this area is to be recognized as a leader in accessibility, disability, and providing the experience and services around that. And I'm really proud to say that accessibility is core to our business and has been for the last 20 plus years, with a team of experts that we're continually growing across the world. And with that, it gives me an immense pleasure to hand over to Jim Smith, who I introduced earlier, who will talk a little bit more about our approach to accessibility and assistive technology. Jim, over to you.
Thank you very much, Leon. My name's Jim Smith. I'm the Head of Accessibility and Digital Inclusion in Atos for the UK and Ireland. I've been working in accessibility now for about just over 10 years. I'm in my late 50s with male pattern baldness and glasses and a fairly strong Scottish accent. What I'd like to do, first of all, is just talk about what do we mean by accessibility and what do we mean by assistive technology, because the two terms are related and they're sometimes confused. Accessibility is the degree to which a product, device, service, or an environment, and that environment can be physical, digital, or cultural, is available and usable to as many people as possible. That's what we understand accessibility to be within Atos. And in general, accessibility refers to the quality of something being easy to approach, to reach, to enter, interact with, or quite importantly, to understand. So that's what we mean by accessibility. It's how many people can actively interact with a particular product. Assistive technology, it is really any item, a piece of equipment, be that a software program, or a product, or a piece of hardware, or even an environment of programs that is used to increase or maintain or improve the functional capabilities of a person with disabilities. And assistive technology helps people who have difficulty in speaking, typing, writing, remembering, pointing, seeing, hearing, learning, walking, and many other things. And different disabilities obviously require different assistive technologies, and often some people require a combination of assistive technologies. Now, what do we actually mean by disability as well? Now, disability is really when we have an impairment combined with a situation. Okay, so if we think in terms of someone in a wheelchair doesn't actually have a disability until they meet a flight of stairs, and then that situation combines with the impairment to create that disability. And what we can do as a company is we address the situations, we remove these situations, and by doing that, we help remove disability within the workplace and enable people to function and to carry out their work to the best of their abilities. Now, disability is surprisingly common. Just to give you some statistics and some ideas of the prevalence we have, about 16% of the world's population have a permanent disability. And in the United Kingdom, that actually represents 22% of the population. Now, the majority of disabilities or impairments are not immediately obvious. So, for instance, there are 62 million people worldwide diagnosed as being on the autistic spectrum, and that's almost certainly an underrepresentation. And 15% of the population of the United States are diagnosed with dyslexia. So it's a very, very prevalent disability is prevalent everywhere throughout our workforce and throughout society. Now, interestingly as well, 83% of disabilities are actually acquired. Most people are not actually born with their disability, and the median age for acquiring a disability is actually 53, which means that almost 20% of working age adults have some form of disability or impairment, and that rises to 44% in the over 65s. Now, this is important because as our workforce ages and our customers age, it means the prevalence of disability is increasing and the requirements for accessibility is also increasing. And what we found, the Boston Consulting Group surveyed companies, and they found that most companies believe between 4 and 7% of their workforce were persons with disabilities. When they actually surveyed the workforce, they found that 25% of people typically declared to have either a disability or a long-term health condition that limits a major part of their life activity. So the prevalence of disability and the requirements for accessibility are considerable. In fact, the disabled have been described as the largest minority on the planet. It's also important to remember that disabilities can also be situational or temporary. So, for example, if I have broken my arm, I'm in a position where I have a temporary disability. If I perhaps go out into bright sunlight, I require stronger contrast in the screen than I do usually, which means that I have a temporary situational disability there. And I'm sure you can think of many other examples yourself about where we can sometimes have a temporary or a situational disability. So disability is something that will affect all of us at some point within our life. Okay, as I said, disability is where an impairment is combined with a situation, and as a company we're interested in mitigating the situations, and we do that by designing our applications and our services to be accessible and to meet internationally recognized standards of accessibility, and also to ensure that the entire working environment is accessible to people. And that doesn't simply mean the tools that people use, but the processes that we have, the procedures that we follow as a company. And that's all part of designing a digital workplace, because a digital workplace, as Leon mentioned earlier, is a lot more than simply just hardware and software. It's how it's orchestrated and combined and used by people. And we have to consider as a company accessibility throughout the entire process of design, implementation, delivery, and usage. And a key part of that is also where we provide assistive technologies. Now, we provide assistive technologies in several ways. They can either be inbuilt within the operating systems or the applications, and when we do that, we need to make sure people are aware that these exist, and we have to ensure that any changes that we make to our environment, our operating systems, when we configure them, or our security settings, or any updates that we do not interfere with these inbuilt assistive technologies or the inherent accessibility of the systems. We also have to provide a series of third-party accessibility tools, and people will demonstrate some of these later on in this presentation. And that management of those tools is extremely important, because we need to ensure they work with the systems because most digital workplaces are highly customized, and the interoperability of the tools is not guaranteed. So we spend a lot of time checking those tools and make sure they work. But that leads on to providing what we provide internally and to our customers is an assistive technology catalog. So we have a series of tools that people can use and people can order that we have tested and we maintain and we ensure work with the systems that we have in place in the digital workplace. And part of the ongoing support that we do for that, as I said, is the interoperability testing, but we constantly update the catalogs. And these assistive technologies should be provided exactly the same way that other technologies are provided. So what we drive for and what we aspire to is to ensure that we provide accessibility and assistive technologies as just a standard part of how digital workplaces work. If you like, it's a fully integrated part of a digital workplace, and it is nothing particularly special or unusual about the provision of assistive technologies. And this enables the entire workforce to perform to the best of their abilities, because while we provide technology, it's vitally important that we do not actually create barriers with the technologies we provide, and the technologies empower and enable everyone within your organization. And that leads to job satisfaction, it leads to increased efficiency, increased profitability, and better products and services. Because when we design for accessibility, we always have to put the person first, and any person-centered design is almost certainly a better design and a better product. So that's a little bit about how we manage accessibility within digital workplace. Within Atos, it's considered a portfolio item, and we sell it as a service to our customers. And I passionately believe that we should provide the same service to our employees as we do to our customers, and provide it as a service, as a portfolio item, so people understand what is available and how it should be delivered and how we manage it. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Leon again, who's going to talk a little bit about approach at group level to portfolios and accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And as Jim mentioned, the need for accessibility and disability inclusion is absolutely essential. Atos are part of the Valuable 500, which has really made a commitment as an organization to support colleagues throughout their life cycle and tenure. And really that's proactively rather than reactively. In Atos specifically, we harness data from our employees. We validate the effectiveness of the solutions that we provide to our employees. But at the same time, we ensure that the privacy of those employees is respected. And this proactive approach gives us insights in how our solutions are really performing. However, I would like to take a little bit step back to the individuals and the impact that assistive technology is really making on a day-to-day basis to our employees. With this in mind, I will now hand over to some of my colleagues who will demonstrate the impact and importance of assistive technology in the workplace.
Thank you. I'm Neil Milliken. I'm the VP of Accessibility and Digital Inclusion here at Atos Group. As an exec, without any obvious disability, you might wonder why I'm using assistive technology. Well, that's because I'm dyslexic and ADHD. And whilst I have lots of ideas, putting them into any kind of order and getting them down in written form can be a challenge for me. I like to use inspiration, which I'm going to demonstrate shortly, to get my ideas into a structured format, and then use dictation using either the inbuilt Microsoft tools or Dragon Naturally Speaking, which will be demonstrated later, to then add to that text. So because I have a poor working memory, I really want to get my ideas down quickly. And so I use, and I'm going to demonstrate this now, the rapid fire idea entry in Inspiration to be able to put my ideas down quickly. At the moment, there is no structure. As you can see, there's just lots of blobs. You can then use the button to automatically arrange these blobs. But for the most part, the reason I really like this tool is that it doesn't force structure upon you. So you get your ideas down and then you can move the blobs around and you can make the connections differently and you can give the various different connections that allow you to take something that is very unstructured and give it structure. And it's very visual, which is something that I like because I can relate the ideas and cluster them. Once you've clustered these ideas, as you can now see, you can switch from the diagram view into a structured view, which allows you to have the basic topics and so on that you're going to use in your document, whether that's a Word document or a PowerPoint. And so once you've got this topical view, you've got your headings and your subheadings. And this really enables me to give the right kind of structure and ideas to creating documents that mean that I can communicate effectively. I then use other assistive technologies such as Dragon to fill in the gaps, using the visual prompt of the original diagram to keep my ideas on track. So I encourage you to give it a try. I think it's a fantastic tool. I've been using it for a couple of decades. Whilst it looks very simple, it is very effective for allowing you to get lots of ideas down and give them structure.
I'm Alexandra Notnagel. I'm the Global Program Manager for the Accessibility and Digital Inclusion Governance. As a neurodiverse person in the autistic spectrum, I have several challenges linked to reading and understanding text because reading making me very tired due to the intellectual efforts required when trying to focus on the text while leaving out other environmental information. Visualizing and deciphering the meaning of the provided information also adds extra mental load for me. I've also issues to read words or sentences. My brain prefers to look at the whole page at once. Literalism is another thing. I only understand metaphors when I've already learned them. For addressing such challenges, I use ClaroRead, a text-to-speech software for persons with vision that offers a wide range of over 80 voices in 30 languages. A real pleasure for someone like me who loves this level of detail. Voice, speed, and volume are customizable. The quicker it reads, the faster I can consume the content. Using visual guidance, like screen rulers, underline, and overlay tools can enable me to focus better on reading while listening, to focus all senses on the content, reducing the external influence of other information. The tool's scanning functions can support me to convert inaccessible printed paper documents and image files and even screenshots to accessible PDFs, while a logical reading order can be added. Now I will use ClaroRead to transform an inaccessible image PDF without alt text and listen to it. In this case, I'll scan a PDF, moving my mouse to scan from PDF file, selecting the inaccessible PDF file, opening it. It will be processed to then share a preview of the reading order that I've to confirm before saving the new format. So save as PDF. It's converting to text and saving. We need to give it a new name. Once I have the document ready, I'll use read aloud with my favorite voice and use a screen ruler if it's a day I need it.
Picture of text with no alt text. European Accessibility Act. Business will benefit from common rules on accessibility in the EU, leading to costs reduction, easier cross-border trading, more market opportunities for their accessible products and services. Persons with disabilities and elderly people will benefit from more accessible products and services in the market, accessible products and services at more competitive prices, fewer barriers when accessing transport, education in the open labour market, more jobs available where accessibility expertise is needed. Products and services.
Using this tool, I'm at least 2 or 3 times quicker in reading texts and be less tired. It allows for effective attention and focus on reading, which is critical in our day jobs with many texts and emails, teams, trainings, and regulations. I encourage you to try and learn tools even if they are designed for another impairment or situation, as they may respond to your needs even if your condition was not part of the initial target group. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Lafosse. Most people call me Joe. I am a ZOS system programmer on the Atos Tech Foundations team in North America. Today, I will give you a short demonstration of the JAWS software package. JAWS, Job Access with Speech, is a screen reader. Screen readers provide spoken and braille feedback to assist visually impaired users to work effectively on a computer. JAWS works in Windows. I have JAWS running, so let's begin. I press the Windows key, and while holding it, I press the letter M.
Windows M, desktop, folder view list view. Microsoft Edge, 8 of 32. To move to
I
items,
press
use the arrow
Home
keys.
key to get
To edit the selected item, press
first
F2.
item.
Home, recycle bin, 1 of 32.
I can also now use arrow keys to move to different items on the screen, so I press the down arrow once.
Adobe Acrobat, 2 of 32.
Tells me that I'm at Adobe Acrobat. Now I'm going to press the letter O to use letter navigation.
Oh, on call, 17 of 32.
Tells me I'm on the on call item. I'll press it 2 more times because I'd like to get to my email.
Oh, OneNote, oh, Outlook, 19 of 32.
I'll press the enter key to open Outlook to get to my email.
Enter. Opening dash Outlook. Inbox dash joseph.lafosse@atos.net dash Outlook. List box, 0 items. To move to an item, press the arrow keys. Steve Gossage, recolon.
Now I move to find the Outlook item that I would like to look at, which I've sent myself for this demo.
Page up. Jeffrey Einsteder left. Carlos, attach, sale point, Craig D, meeting, unread, red flag, Joseph Lay.
I've sent myself an email. I'm going to open that email now.
Enter. Microsoft Outlook dialog. Joseph Lafosse requested a read receipt be sent when message FW:dick screen. Yes button. Enter. Inbox dash Joseph.Lay from Joseph Lafosse. Send mail blank. Send to Joe. Send mail subject blank. Here is a link to a comprehensive set of quick screen reader references from Dick University.
It tells me that this is a link to a comprehensive set of screen reader references from DQ University. If I keep moving, I'll find the link and I will click on it.
Blank. Link https:// enter. Opening new tab. Loading page. 14:41. New recording camera or microphone recording Microsoft Edge. 14:41. Screen reader keyboard shortcuts and gestures. Link graphic Dick University logo. Loading complete. 5 region. Link skip to link graphic Dick University. View cart button. Link login. Main menu navigation region. Online courses instructor led.
As you can see, I can use my arrow keys to move around in the message. Once I've done what I would like to do on this screen, I will close this window by pressing Alt F4.
Closing tab. Close. New recording camera. 12:08. FW:/Dick screen reader. Link https://deck.
I've moved now back to the message, and I can continue to review the message. When I'm done reviewing it, I press the escape key to return to the message list.
Escape. 11:49.
I use JAWS to assist me as I work throughout the day. As you can see, while using web applications, office programs, and other software, JAWS provides me with spoken feedback. Although I navigate primarily by using the keyboard, JAWS also provides commands which enable me to accurately control the mouse when I need it. As an IT professional with a vision impairment, a screen reader is an essential tool which enables me to effectively perform my daily work activities. Thank you.
To start, I'm Trudy Fountain James, and I'm the General Counsel of North America. As a lawyer, it might surprise you that words and language are not my strong suit. I have to really focus on adapting the way my brain works to language. That's because I have dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. I also have an eidetic memory. And what does all this mean? It means I struggle with spelling, I struggle with reading quick math, and if I'm reading, I'm very slow or I may misread it. If I'm writing, it may look jumbled up to you. However, I remember everything I read and see. I don't let my disabilities stop me, and luckily with today's technology, there's a lot of tools and tech out there that accommodate for those things that are invisible to you, that stay hidden in our mind but show up in how I work. I like to use Dragon Speech. Dragon is a speech-to-text assistive technology that allows folks like me with dyslexia and dyscalculia to speak and to translate to text. You merely open it up, for example, in a Word document and start speaking what you want to have written down. It's that simple. It adapts to accents, whether they're Southern or Northern, and for my dyslexia and dysgraphia, it's a lifesaver. Thank goodness for Atos and that Atos offers it, or I would be buying it. Once the tool is installed, you open up Word or an email or whatever it is that you're working in, and then you open up the Dragon Speech logo, or you say, "Wake up, Dragon," and then you start to dictate. I would dictate a memo to my team that would be something like this. "Dear team, I'm glad to be able to show you how to use Dragon Speech in your daily work, full stop. Dragon can deliver to the legal department huge productivity because, comma, speaking is 3 times faster than typing. Dragon is also intuitive, comma. It understands your accents and what you mean, full stop. For example, comma, the words that sound exactly the same and have different meanings and spellings, comma, for example, colon, new paragraph. She rode the pony down the road. It also has auto text abbreviations for standard terms and conditions, full stop. For example, colon, all prices include VAT at the prevailing rate and are valid for 30 days, full stop. It also can do my signature as an auto text. I just say, do my signature. I can then make it stop on a vocal command or a close button, and I can say, "Go to sleep, Dragon," or close the button to stop dictating. If you need to learn how to use Dragon Speech to overcome similar challenges to mine, you should reach out to your local HR Global Accessibility team, opening a piece of ticket for assistive technology provisions. See, there you go, part of my challenges. After this demo, I hope you can better understand the big benefits of using this tool. I'm at least 3 times more productive. My work is more quality. It translates how my brain interprets words and how you understand words and letters. It allows the effective communication, which is critical in our business world. Dragon Speech is predictive in nature. It has many components, for example, legal modules that make it way different than any other tool out on the market. I encourage you not to hide from the things that make you different. Embrace them and learn how to make them work for you. It's these abilities, not disabilities, that make you unique, and we are a better workplace when we embrace these differences in neurodiversity. Let's ensure we're accommodating for all abilities. Do not hesitate to reach out if you want to learn more.
Hello everyone, I'm Alexandre Arnaud. I'm a digital accessibility specialist working for Atos in France. I'm doing accessibility consulting to verify website, mobile application are inclusive for all, including people with disabilities. I'm myself a person with low vision, and I'll demonstrate to you today a software called ZoomText Fusion, which allows me to use my computer. And first of all, I will show you my setup. I have a 27-inch external monitor, and as you can see, you can view my normal screen, and I will toggle the first feature of ZoomText called color inversion. This feature allows me to see my screen because I am light sensitive, so I can only read from white on black. And I will zoom now. As you see, I can't see the whole screen. I see just part of it. To see the whole screen, I need to move the mouse around the screen, and then I can access everything. It looks a bit slow when you see that, but as I know mostly by hand all the interfaces I use every day, like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and so on, it's as efficient as anyone else. Also, to reduce my eye fatigue and to be more efficient, I use a screen reader part of Zoom text called JAWS. I can read what's under the mouse and read articles. I will show you how it works. I'm on the article Empowerment of Wikipedia. If I do a shortcut, I can see the currently read word by the screen reader and hear it on my headphone. It's very fast and more fast that I can read with just my eyes. And I need also to access the technical details of every pages. Uh, for example, with Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome, it's called DevTool. I will show you what I can inspect the code source and the accessibility information to do my job. This is a tool required for my job. Without it, I couldn't work. And I really thanks Atos for buying it for me. And I thank you for your attention. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarika Saxena, a part of the Atos Quality and Audit or AQUA team from Mumbai, India. I am sometimes disabled by my health conditions as I have cervical spondylosis, also called spondylitis of the neck. I also suffer from periodic bouts of uric acid related arthritis and muscular spasms and cramps. Some mornings, I confront the sharp pain and stiffness from my cervical spondylosis, sometimes accompanied by swelling. Additionally, when gout strikes, it leads to swollen and painful fingertips, particularly as I start my day. Such conditions can make even simple tasks like typing, responding to emails, and drafting mailers, SharePoint articles, or Yammer posts create a significant challenge for me. In these times, the Microsoft Word and Outlook Dictate feature supports me as an assistive technology that immensely helps me. I can utilize this tool to avoid typing. All I need to do is to choose the dictate option from the top menu and start speaking. It is as simple as that. Yet, it helps me like nothing else to continue to do my job in such moments. Let me show you how it works. Open a new email to compose, and instead of typing, click the dictate icon from the top menu. Once you click it, and have ensured that the microphone settings are correct, simply start speaking like this. Dear all, comma, we are glad to let you know that we have recently launched DNA sessions, comma, which are 30-minute fortnightly sessions on Microsoft Teams dedicated to topics related to diversity, comma, equity, comma, inclusion, comma, accessibility, and more. Exclamation mark. New line. With this new initiative, comma, which started with a few hundred pilot participants from various teams within New Atos, comma, we keep adding more people with every new session. With this, comma, we aim to not only increase awareness in the DE&I or accessibility area, but also talk about real life stories and workplace experiences that will be shared by our colleagues who join us as presenters in the DNA sessions or even as audience. Full stop. The idea is to exchange and care more about disabilities, comma, accessibility, comma, diversity, comma, related challenges in an inclusive way, sharing tips and tricks useful in the workplace and beyond. Full stop. New line. Please feel free to reach out to our DEI mailbox at dei@atos.net. If you are interested in joining us, or sharing any stories or experiences. Exclamation mark. New line. We look forward to great participation from all your team members and yourselves. Full stop. Then I will click in the recipients field and add the name. Sarika. I'll check if it is the correct name and then click in the subject field and fill it using the dictate tool. Drop in at New Atos DNA sessions. Send this email. Yes. As you saw, there is one extra level of confirmation before the email is sent. The dictate feature can be used similarly for answering emails, creating and updating Word documents, and similar tasks. You may wonder what the benefits are. This feature lets me relax my neck, shoulders, and fingers. I don't need to type when it hurts. Over time, this feature has evolved and become so much easier to use. It also allows me to think and speak, pause when needed, and punctuate my sentences better. I can quickly reply to emails, draft communications and news articles, optimize my time, and format the draft later when things are more in control. It's incredible how such a minor assistive feature makes my life easier and enables me to work better. And you know what? It even helps with faster recovery because I can rest my stiff and sore muscles using this assistive feature.
Thank you so much to the colleagues for sharing their experiences and skills with us. Although we have these great technologies in place, unless people really know about them, know how to access them, the importance and the support and the usage will be minimal. That's why I'm proud to say that as part of this information session on Tech for Good, it has really raised the awareness of accessibility and assistive technology and how we work in Atos to support individuals with disabilities. Before I hand back to Neil, I would like to congratulate the entire accessibility team in Atos for their work over many, many years. And I really look forward to seeing what we achieve in the future and the strategy that we push forward. Once again, finally, I'd like to thank all my colleagues for sharing their experience and stories with us, which I found really, really insightful. And I will pass over to Neil now. Neil?
Our next session is talking about the importance of public-private partnerships to foster innovations in disability inclusion. It's going to be done remotely, and you're going to see my doppelganger.
Over to you, Neil.
Welcome to our joint Innovation in Disability Inclusion event with GIZ and Atos. Today, we come together to celebrate diversity, promote equality, and embrace the principle that every individual, regardless of their abilities, deserves respect, inclusion, and the opportunity to thrive. This event serves as a testament to our commitment to creating a more inclusive and accessible world for people with disabilities. We'll engage in meaningful discussions, share experiences, and learn from each other to make progress towards a society that truly values and supports everyone. I'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the speakers, sponsors, and volunteers who have all dedicated their time and resources to make this event possible. Your contribution is invaluable in advancing our shared vision for a more inclusive future. Two excellent panel discussions with Thomas Trumper, Noor Yusuf, and Hesham Shafiq about the power of partnerships and alliances. And finally, a few closing remarks and insights into the future from our speakers. So first, I would like to welcome Dr. Axel Klaphacker of GIZ and BMZ for this International Day of Persons with Disabilities event that we are doing for the third time together.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, welcome to the third edition of the Atos GIZ Innovation in Disability Inclusion event to jointly celebrate United Nations International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which is the annual global occasion to recognize and celebrate the equal rights and the dignity of disabled people everywhere. My name is Axel Klapphake. I'm a Director for Economic and Social Development and Digitalization at GIZ headquarters. For those who have never met or worked with GIZ, we are a global service provider in the realm of sustainable development and the technical implementing organization of German Development Cooperation, which is politically steered and mostly financed by our Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ. In our portfolio, we do promote strongly a sustainable economic development in our partner countries. In this context, we consider development partnership projects, so-called DPPs, between private sector companies and development cooperation, a success model where we develop and implement projects of common interest. Those projects create mutual benefits: the pooling of knowledge and resources, the transfer of expertise in modern technology, the establishment and the expansion of networks, just to mention a few. As a result, DPP serve as a trigger and a driver for innovation. The partnership between Atos and GIZ serves as a very good example for jointly working on innovation for disability inclusion. We have been and still are implementing already various successful activities together. And now there is even a bigger DPP envisaged with Atos to be implemented in Egypt, Morocco, and Senegal on the topic of digital accessibility and inclusion that could offer various new opportunities for joint actions. Inclusion of marginalized groups, such as persons with disabilities, is a priority of our ministry, the BMZ, and we also take it very serious as an implementing organization. We do believe in the power of partnerships based on shared values. That is why GIZ welcomes so much the cooperation with Atos and appreciates Atos' private sector commitment to achieving the SDGs. We look very much forward to working with Atos in the future and other partners to promote inclusion and innovation worldwide. Have a great event. Goodbye.
I'm back and I'm here to welcome you all for a panel discussion now. So our participants are Noor Youssef of Atos Egypt, our head of HR, Thomas Trumper from GIZ. Welcome, Thomas, it's good to see you. And Dr. Hesham Shafiq of GIZ Egypt, who is policy advisor. So we really want to talk a little bit, and I'm going to ask you first, Thomas. You know, we've been working together for a number of years, collaborating now, but what are the new developments that are currently taking place with GIZ?
Yes, thank you very much, Neil. These are indeed very exciting times for us at GIZ at the moment, who are working on the inclusion of persons with disabilities in international development cooperation. Why is that? As you know, we work mainly on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for International Cooperation and Development, in short BMZ, and we implement projects for sustainable development on the ground in more than 120 countries in the global south. And there I want to mention two very important new developments that are taking place at the moment. Firstly, the BMZ will introduce the OECD DAC marker for the inclusion and empowerment of persons with disabilities as from 1st of January 2024. And this marker will actually allow us to determine the extent to which the entire project portfolio of the German Development Corporation is focused on people with disabilities. And this targeted monitoring system will ultimately lead to a more inclusive GIZ project portfolio. And yes, that is a great achievement great news and a real game changer, in my opinion. Secondly, also a new development, Germany will be organizing, as you know, the Global Disability Summit in the year 2025 in Berlin, together with Jordan and the International Disability Alliance. And this summit, which is expected to attract several thousand participants, is also a very good indicator that the inclusion of people with disabilities in German development cooperation is receiving a great deal of political attention at the moment. And I also expect the Global Disability Summit to generate significant incentives and budgets for larger initiatives and partnerships on disability inclusion at multilateral level, but also for partnerships with the private sector. So yeah, these are really exciting times. Neil, I want to ask you a question. How important are partnerships for achieving your goals at Atos, especially partnerships with development or cooperation organizations such as GIZ?
Well, they're hugely important for us, and thank you for asking the question. I really treasure our collaboration and partnership. It's been one of the best things that we've done in recent years. We can't achieve our goals as an organization without engaging in a wider ecosystem. We're a global company, and we really appreciate the global reach that partners like GIZ have to really bring together the diverse stakeholders, to include them and address the challenges that people are facing. We also see that partnerships are a great way for us to develop maturity in different geographies, to share our knowledge and common goals, which is why we're continuing to work together on some of the exciting stuff that we'll talk about next, and really emphasize the sort of sustainability, because whilst disability inclusion is absolutely the social aspect of sustainability in general, we also want our programs to be sustainable in the other sense, in that they need to be long-term and viable to continue. So partnerships make that possible. So back to you, I have a question around how our partnership has helped GIZ achieve your goals to really improve the inclusion of people with disabilities.
Neil, you know, the cooperation with you at Atos is very fruitful and beneficial for us at GIZ. And our partnership really serves as a real innovation driver for GIZ, also in terms of mainstreaming digital inclusion and accessibility within GIZ as a company and our projects worldwide. So really, really great. And we receive very positive feedback from our management colleagues and partners in this regard. So Atos and GIZ, we both operate on a global level and both want to achieve global impact. And I think through our partnership, we've done that quite well with some of our joint projects in the past. And I'm just thinking of our joint ICT for Inclusion Challenge, which we successfully carried out in the years 2021 and 22. So 1 year we focused on digital innovations for disability inclusion in Africa. The other year we focused on India, and with very good project results and impact for the target group. So, and this year, building on our positive experience with the ICT for Inclusion Challenge, I think we are once again increasing our global impact in the area of scaling innovations in disability inclusion by entering into a bigger partnership with a Zero Project Impact Scaling Program. No? And again, here, Atos and GIZ are pooling their resources and expertise and contributing them to the new partnership with the Zero Project. So this is a great development, a great partnership with a global impact to make the lives of people with disabilities more accessible and inclusive. So that is really a very good development of our partnership. But let's talk about you, Neil, again. Neil, considering our history of successful partnerships, how do you envision our future partnerships evolving and contributing to our organization's goals and objectives? What do you think?
So I'm very excited about the work that we're continuing to do with Zero Project and the sort of innovation benefits that that's going to bring and help organizations to scale those innovations. But I'm even more excited about taking things to the next step and looking forward to participating in an even larger project with GIZ in Egypt, our Accessibility Alliance, which is up in our next Q&A session. So I'm super excited about this. It's really taking things up to a new level, really growing skills, leveraging the capabilities and capacities of lots of organizations to achieve a common goal of inclusion. Okay, so I would really now like to move on to the next section, which is around the Egyptian perspectives around disability inclusion and develop PPP, which is our proposal to work together to create an accessibility alliance in Egypt to really bring together new skills and open up opportunities for employment and equal access. So I would like to welcome back my guests Noor and Hesham, and great to have you with us here. So my first question: what are the current challenges in Egypt? And can you provide some insights into the ongoing efforts and initiatives aimed at addressing some of these challenges when it comes to inclusion and skills?
So thanks, Neil. Exciting times indeed. I second Thomas on that. It's also quite exciting times, especially in the past half of decade on the policy front of disability inclusion in Egypt. And perhaps I'll explain that in a minute. But let me first give some context to that. Egypt has 12 million persons with disabilities. This makes more than 1 million in every 9 people you meet. And what is more significant is that in statistical terms, the huge population of caretakers, dependents, and other people affected by disability are quite huge. According to a recent UNDP report, this amounts to 36% of the population. So enabling persons with disabilities in Egypt is thus an act of enabling a whole society of carers, dependents, and communities, and of allowing for a more comprehensive utilization of the workforce and steering untapped economies and economic potential. And it's from that standpoint, and not only of social responsibility or legal rights, that we approach disability inclusion in our work as a process which we believe benefits not only persons with disabilities, but spills over to the society as a whole. And building on that perspective, the President of Egypt, President Abdel Fattah Sisi, announced in the year 2018 as the Year of Persons with Disabilities. And that was a kind of a symbolic move to mobilize attention towards policy agendas that have persons with disabilities at the center. At that time, absolutely brilliant policies were enacted. The formation of the Higher Council of Disability, the drafting of and ratifying of Law 10 of the year 2018 to protect the rights and ensure the integration of persons with disabilities in line with the UN General Assembly's Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and the formation of several disability integration units across many governmental entities, whether cabinet entities or governorates. However, what remains really challenging in Egypt is mobilizing these policies into procedures in order to affect and impact the everyday lives of persons with disabilities. Currently, in my current project, supporting e-government and innovation in the public administration, we're working on drafting procedure manuals for different government entities to ensure the application of Law 10 that I've just mentioned, and train government employees on how to integrate these policies and this law in their everyday work as part of our what we call Inclusions Champions program that is executed by GIZ Egypt in collaboration with the National Institute of Governance in Egypt. But then working with governments only could never be sufficient to scale policy implementation on a whole of society level, and is such kind of scalability that we're currently aspiring and targeting with our Develop PPP Alliance. in which we hope to extend the legal institutional wins, I would say, of the year 2018 to trickle down and diffuse across all sectors the policies and procedures that is enabling for the persons with disabilities, particularly when it comes to the workforce. By doing so, we believe we'd simultaneously enhance the legal and humanitarian rights of persons with disabilities while also making use of such a latent workforce to develop our economy.
Thank you so much. Now, if I may go to Noor and ask if you could provide us with an overview of the proposed Accessibility Alliance and what impact that we're trying to achieve through driving this alliance, and how can others support this coming together?
So actually, this is the main concept of partnership. So partners complete each other. So as Hashim just said, it's not enough just the government to support and entities like GIZ to support. We have to close the circle by providing all the tools that is needed for us to empower people with disabilities, same like we did a couple of years ago for empowering women. You know, if we get back to a couple of years ago, there was an issue in hiring women or promoting women in a managerial level or empowering women in tech, if we're talking about the technology sector. And it's a long way to go now with women. So now we need to focus or collect all our efforts and focus to empower people with disabilities as well, because there is potential and abilities that they can go on and get fair chance in the labor market and to be independent, same as we did with women. This is from where the idea came from. And that's why we needed GIZ support and any other partner like universities, other companies, public sector, not only to support the independency of people with disability in the labor market, but making sure that their processes and their executions and projects to be supporting the people with disability to grow. So it's just not, it's an impactful project. It's not impacting only the labor thing. It's impacting how we as a country looking after empowering those people so they can be productive and they can be independent. And then everyone related to them will be independent as well.
Thank you very much, Noor. And I'm really excited about this because the opportunity for us to take people and create skills, much like we've done in the UK with the accessibility apprenticeships, taking people with no skills and giving them the ability to support assistive technologies, have detailed training on accessibility, means that we're able to really deliver into the ecosystem to make the society more accessible and inclusive. So not only are we creating jobs for people with disabilities, but we're creating people that are enablers for an ecosystem of people with disabilities. And on top of the accessibility job, we're also wanting to bring in people that can learn to support people with disabilities, because often we have great capabilities, but also quite often spiky profiles as well. So I'm really good at some things and really bad at others. So these kind of roles are super important to enabling people to really reach their full potential. So Noor, if you could give us your concluding remarks, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neil. What I need to stress out here is this: we will not going to do this alone. It's not a country mission or a company mission like my company. It's a universe we need all to participate in. So I would love to, from this point, encouraging everyone that is lucky to be to participate in, support us, and also provide assistance so we can include and help people with disability to be independent and impactful in the society.
Thank you so much. And Thomas?
I would like to say that public-private partnerships play a key role in fostering innovations in disability inclusion. By bringing together the resources, expertise, and perspectives of both sectors, these partnerships can really drive digital inclusion and accessibility, especially in countries of the global south. And my specific hope is that we will soon be able to start the new develop project of the Accessibility Alliance between Atos and GIZ in Egypt, also in Morocco and Senegal. So I wish everyone involved the best of luck. And I also hope that other companies will join this alliance to further strengthen the positive impact for people with disabilities in the region, and with a vision of creating a global accessibility alliance in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Hesham, over to you.
Well, I second my colleagues, and I also want to mention that I'm quite optimistic about the collaboration, and I think it might be a case in point about what Anu just mentioned, that this is an issue that we should all work together on, and I hope that this initiative would be a starting point for the enactment of a wider ecosystem of enabling persons with disabilities in Egypt and across the globe.
Thank you so much. And just to conclude, this is a partnership that is open to all sorts of participants. We want business and academia and the public sector to come in and join us, because the more people that get involved, the greater the impact. So it really is about building partnerships for inclusion. So thank you so much for our participants today. And also thank you to our audience. And hopefully thank you to future collaborators who are going to join us on the journey as we build this Accessibility Alliance. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Now we've another leader-to-leader discussion with remote Neil and our employee resource group leader from Atos Adapt, Nazir Ahmad. This is part of Positively Purple. Over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nasir and I work as an employee experience consultant at Atos, and I'm also the chair of our Global Disability Inclusion and Wellbeing Employee Network, Atos Adapt. Welcome to our leader-to-leader conversation between myself and Neil Milliken about developing inner confidence and the crucial role it plays in disability inclusion. Now, let's just get straight into it. Neil, please could you introduce yourself and tell us, what does inner confidence mean to you and why is it important?
Thank you, Naz. So I'm Neil Milliken. I'm the Global Head of Accessibility and Digital Inclusion. And if you've been watching this, you'll have heard me introduce myself multiple times today. So what does inner confidence mean to me? Well, it's important for me because it's something that I lacked for a long time and I had to learn to develop. But it's that trust in yourself. It's the willingness to take a risk on yourself, that you know that you are capable of doing good stuff. And I think it's really important for us as an organization that we have the confidence and trust in ourselves to know that we can do great things. And as employees and individuals with disabilities, it's also important to know that that we as individuals are not less, we're just different, and having that confidence to do stuff in different ways is really important.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That makes so much sense to me. For me, supporting people in developing their inner confidence aids in people being authentic and bringing their true selves to work. And I think that's important when it comes to things like self-ID, for example, which is really important for organizations like ours to understand the makeup of our organization and where the gaps are, and crucially, where we could do more. On that note, could you tell me, Neil, like how can organizations support people in bringing their authentic selves to work and help people build inner confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that you mentioned self-ID. Well, we're only going to get self-ID if people feel that it's a psychologically safe place to work. and some of the activities that we've undertaken, that you've led, actually, the ADAPT roundtables, where our own colleagues are talking about their lived experience with disabilities or neurodivergent conditions, I think are extremely helpful, because often people feel like they're alone. We're in a globally dispersed organization, and often we don't see each other. Lots of remote working, and also lots of hidden disabilities. So having the opportunity to be able to speak freely, creating that safe space, is really important. We need that self-ID to be able to understand the makeup of our workforce and understand where are the areas that we need to address to improve and make sure that we serve people as best we can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to take this opportunity to also announce our reverse mentoring program, which will be launching soon, and that will have like a particular focus on disability inclusion and upward sort of knowledge transfer between people with lived experiences of disabilities up to sort of people at senior levels within the organization, so we can bring about more of a positive cultural change. So for any colleagues watching, please get in touch to take part. For now, though, I want to say thank you so much, Neil, for your time and everything you do in and outside the organization to push forward the accessibility and disability inclusion agenda. One last thing, though, I wanted to ask if you had any final words to inspire some inner confidence in the people watching.
Well, actually, I think the reverse mentoring is super important, and thank you for leading on this initiative. I've been mentoring you, and for sure you asked me lots of questions in order to learn, but I've also learned from mentoring. So mentoring always goes two ways, and I hope that you've gained confidence. In fact, I've seen you do great things over the years, and I would like to say that everyone else can also, with that sort of collaboration and mentorship, succeed. So good luck, everyone, and thank you for listening. And now we're going to have another remote recording. So you're going to see my doppelganger again as I talk with Katie Talikowska, who is the CEO of Valuable 500. And we're talking about the renewed commitment that we have made as an organization to disability inclusion, and some of the important topics that Valuable 500 is raising around inclusion and reporting. And welcome again. I'm really delighted to be joined today by Katie Talikowska, who is the newly appointed, well, relatively newly appointed CEO of the Valuable 500. If you've been listening to all of the broadcasts so far, you'll know already that Atos have a long-standing commitment to the Valuable 500, and I'm very proud to serve on the advisory board as well. So Katie, it's great to have you with us. You and I have had some good conversations offline, but as the new exec leader of an organization that is focused on executives that are committed to transforming disability inclusion, what are the sort of skills that you're bringing to support the transformation of the 500 signatories and also to the evolution of the Valuable 500 itself?
Perfect. All right. Well, first of all, Neil, may I start by saying a massive thank you to yourself and the team at Atos for giving me the opportunity to join this chat today for such an important occasion. Thank you. And yes, you're right, Neil, we've had lots of offline chats, but you know what? I didn't ask you to rehearse how to pronounce my Polish surname, and you did it brilliantly. So on a personal level, thank you so much for doing that as well. So in terms of my, if I can just take a moment, let me briefly explain to you my previous career and my professional background, because that will help me answer your question around the skills that I am bringing to the exec leadership role at the Valuable 500 to help work with signatories like yourself to end disability exclusion in business. So my professional career is almost exclusively in advertising and marketing. I did just over 3 decades. And I think specifically what I bring hopefully strong strategic insight. I have worked in the main, I was building relationships. And I know that sounds fairly sort of basic, but I think the role of the Valuable 500 is to act as a conduit and almost a bridge broker, working with partners like Atos and the other fantastic 523 partners that we work with, to be a bridge broker with the disability business community, to make those skills, be that source of sort of information to help further our goals. So my professional background brings that sense of strategy, relationship management, and network, and importantly, driving engagement between various bodies. Also, within advertising and marketing, I was heading up departments, so I have a strong background in terms of change management and driving culture. And culture is incredibly important for us within our mission, because whilst it is very important to have strategies and policies in place, unless the culture of the organisation is truly inclusive, then those policies and strategies aren't going to be properly executed. There's a fabulous, well-used management consultancy quote where you talk about culture eats strategy for lunch. Strategy is important, but culture is the most important, and that's why, for the purposes of today, as we talk about leadership, it has to start from the top. It is about a shift in mindset, and it's about principles in action. So from my perspective, I think that marketing background, being that networker and engagement driver, will hopefully set me up for success. And it's a critical stage for us as an organisation as we look forward.
Absolutely. So I think the first stage was to get 500 CEOs signed up, and then it's this now. Where do we go from here, and how can we really take that collective power of business leadership? So. What are the leadership skills from your CEOs that you've observed that are really transformative? Because you have some amazing, high-profile CEOs like Tim Cook. You've got the Director General of the BBC. You've got Satya Nadella at Microsoft. These are highly visible CEOs. And what are the sort of qualities that they're exhibiting that really bring out the opportunities for inclusion and act as role models for other CEOs that are maybe newer to this space and maybe a little less confident but want to do stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Neil. No, I think that's a really important question, and I will promise I will answer that. But I think it is so critical for those leaders to adopt those skills and have that mindset, because for the Valuable 500 as an organisation, you mentioned sort of stage one was the all-important getting those 500 commitments and signatories on board. And credit to Caroline Casey, our amazing founder, and the team around me. That was a big, hard task. But effectively what she was trying to do was to end the CEO silence and getting C-suite leaders to start talking about disability inclusion, not only just putting it on their board agenda, but also having the confidence to lead by example and be open and transparent about their own lived disability experience. Because in the spirit of if you don't see it, you can't be it, it is really important to drive that culture by starting to have these conversations and also embracing the diversity and the brilliant, unique skills and perspectives that people with disabilities can bring to leadership roles. So if you look at C-suite leaders who've been open about their disabilities, they are unequivocally phenomenal human beings who are leading enormous, successful business organizations. So for them to talk about that, it's an overused word and I'm always sensitive about it, but it is truly inspirational for employees. So I think to answer your question about the critical skills and what we see, I mentioned before talking about principles in action. You have to start by being truly inclusive. So instead of saying as a leader, today we're going to talk about, from an employment perspective and the makeup of our staff, we're going to talk about gender, or we're going to talk about race, or we're going to talk about disability. All of these things are really important. But let's start with a human first approach. Let's talk about principles and say, effectively, can we all agree as a leadership team that we acknowledge that in order for our teams to be happy and engaged and productive, and therefore give value to us as an organisation and as a business, they need to be working in an environment where they feel that they can bring their whole self to work, and they can have conversations. They don't feel uncomfortable about anything that may hold them back. They can talk about flexible working. They can talk about reasonable accommodations. So you have to set that culture of from the top of being open and having this human first approach, rather than siloing and stigmatizing certain groups. So for me, that's really critical. And if I can give you an example of hopefully how things are changing, we worked with an organisation called Tortoise Media, and in 2021 we commissioned a report with them called the Responsible 100, and that was to work with the FTSE 100 companies in the UK and to encourage, anonymously, but to encourage the C-suite leaders to self-disclose about lived disability experience. They ran the survey in 2021 and the response that came back was 0. Now, when you think that 22% of the UK population, 1 in 5 of the global population have lived disability experience, that 0 within C-suite was clearly inaccurate. We reran the survey the next year and it was 3%. So a good direction of travel, but still not accurate. So my ask really of C-suite leaders is be proud and be open about your own personal passion for disability inclusion, any lived experience that you may have, because it is really critical that you lead from example and create that culture of open honesty and transparency.
Thank you very much. And I think that, you know, one of the key things that you've talked about is self-ID, but that's only one of several things that the organisation is also talking about. So 2025 is a really big year for accessibility and inclusion, with the coming into force of the European Accessibility Act, but also V500 are planning an accountability summit. And self-ID is only one of those things. You know, it's important that leaders do self-ID, but not all leaders have disabilities, of course. But those that do, it's super important that they identify and provide that role model leadership. But across an organization, we need to do this as well, because we know from the Boston Consulting Group that on average, companies expect between 4 and 7% of their workforce to contain some, people with disabilities, and actually when they self-report is around 25%. So getting that data to support positive actions also super important. Moving on, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the summit in Tokyo, the Accountability Summit, and how that is really reinforcing the collective actions of reporting, leadership, and representation?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you say, 2025 is a big year for many reasons, and effectively, as we approach IDPD this year, our countdown clock starts ticking, because it gives us 2 years to IDPD in 2025, when, as you mentioned, Neil, we are hosting the world's first accountability summit. And that is a moment for us to come together with partners like yourselves to have an open and honest conversation and be able to report back in terms of how we are collectively doing against what you referenced before, our 3 synchronized collective actions. And we have a huge amount of focus, because we referenced before stage 1 was getting the 500 CEOs on board. Now it's about action, accountability, and delivery. So those 3 areas of focus are effectively addressing the biggest system barriers. And that's lack of representation within an organisation. So we're encouraging people to report, and that links to self-ID. Then we have a lack of representation within leadership, which we've touched on. And then lack of authentic representation of people with disabilities in an organisation's communications. So that's both internal corporate communications and external consumer-facing communications. So reporting, leadership, and representation. So we have those 3 areas of focus, and we're very intentional when we use those words, synchronized collective action, because the reality is, and credit again to Atos and the other companies that we work with, individually, we find that our companies are making a lot of progress. You at Atos were one of the first companies to incorporate the 5 harmonized KPIs that we recommended coming out of a white paper on reporting that we launched at Davos at the start of 2023. So you're already reporting, which is a fantastic first step, because if you don't report something, if you're not measuring something, then you don't manage it, and if you're not measuring it, then it's not going to improve. So reporting is a critical step. So you guys have started on that. And then again, leadership, if I may touch on that, again, thank you. You've embraced a fantastic reverse mentoring program that we have called Generation Valuable. So you were one of the first 77 companies who helped us pilot that. We've just finished piloting it, and we're now optimizing it, taking on board the really rich and useful constructive feedback that we've got. And we will be relaunching Generation Valuable in May of 2024, next year. So just briefly on that, it's reverse mentoring. And what has been really powerful, and this really helps with the opening up and the conversations around C-suite, is that we have a C-suite mentor matched with a mentee with declared lived disability. And perhaps unsurprisingly, but it's really beautiful to hear this feedback, the C-suite mentors are getting as much from the program as the mentees themselves, because it's truly reciprocal and mutually beneficial. It just helps with that element of understanding. So that's what we're doing around leadership. And just briefly on representation, that's the last one that we're launching. We're working with Yale and a brilliant company called Open Inclusion to help companies, and then that will give us our call to action for our 500 companies to help them address the lack of authentic representation of people with disabilities. So Tokyo, a big day for us. It's a moment of reckoning where we'll all come together and we'll hold each other to account in a really positive, constructive way, because we'll all be on different stages of our journeys, but we need to start reporting and we need to start sharing back, because only then can we track the truth, can we be accountable, and then we can move forward. And that's when we'll see proper system change.
Thank you so much. So we're absolutely committed to doing the reporting, really working quite hard to make sure that we understand the numbers and gather that self-ID data. Absolutely committed to mentoring and reverse mentoring. I know the power of it. And I think that the other thing we want to do is really frame accessibility fully as a business topic, because we've talked about our approach being an ESG approach, and accessibility being the S and the G, and disability inclusion social topic, and needing that governance, but it's also a business perspective. And I think that that's the really important thing that we wish to get through to management at all levels, cascaded down from our top CEOs and everything, that this is a leadership issue, it's a profitability issue and everything else. So one last thought from you, and because you ran a very successful campaign with Maltesers. So we've got about 30 seconds left. What did that do in terms of bringing in revenue?
Yeah, so Maltesers, and you make a brilliant point. What's right for society is what's right for business. It absolutely drives growth, and organisations have to stop thinking about them as separate entities. The unlock we had from Maltesers is we entered a Channel 4 competition when they were hosting the Paralympics. They were the broadcaster for the Rio Paralympics, and they ran a competition to give £1 million worth of airtime for a brand that for the first time authentically represented people with disabilities. So we started off doing it because we felt it was right for society as a moral imperative to represent 1 in 5 of the global population. We were lucky enough to win the competition, which was fantastic, but the unlock was that we saw 7% uplift in sales and growth. And we had this proof point to go back to the business to say what's right for society is what is right for your business. It was, and still is, the single most successful campaign that Maltesers ran in 18 years. So we started with this moral imperative and wanting to do right by society and 1/5 of the global population. But at the same time, it sold a lot more chocolate. It absolutely drove the brand, and in terms of brand equity, all the metrics were off the charts. So that was a massive unlock for us, and something that I hold on to all the time.
I remember them well. So thank you so much, Katie. It's been a fantastic opportunity to explore with you what you're doing. And thank you for participating in our event today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the event. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us and sticking with us throughout this event. I hope that, like me, you've learned something. I'm always learning something from people with disabilities and about assistive technology. It's one of the things that keeps me interested after 2 decades. I'd really like to thank all of our partners for participating today, because without partnership, we cannot include people properly, because we live in an ecosystem. Technology is really exciting, and I'm excited about the prospects of technology for inclusion. I hope that you will take away some learnings and apply them in your lives. So, thank you once again for joining and sticking with us. Thank you to our guests and for you for listening.
Thank you very much for joining, and hope to see you again next time.